I'm James Lynch, and this is my stock report for UFC Abu Dhabi, taking a look at the biggest winners and losers from the event. And I'm doing this a bit differently today. I'm actually going live right now. So if you're around and you're watching this live, I'm live so I can answer your questions. So let me get through my biggest stock risers and stock droppers on this card. And if you guys have any questions, I will get to them after. We can have a discussion about this event. Don't know if I'll do the full hour here, but definitely we'll get to my biggest winners and losers from this event. So we're going to start first with our biggest stock riser on this card. No questions asked. It's Reiner to Ritter. What a performance that was against Robert Whittaker. Close fight. I think this one could have gone either way. I don't know how de Ritter survived that overhand right from Robert Whittaker early in the fight. I think that would have put down a lot of other middleweights here. But Reiner to Ritter coming through as a plus 130 underdog. This was close. Like I said, Rob didn't look bad in this fight. This was one of those things I think that if Rob was a little bit more aggressive in certain spots, he would take this fight. But credit to Reiner to Ritter. Utilize the height and reach very well. Really good ground game in this one. Can certainly take some punishment. I think there were some questions after the Bo Nickel fight. As great as he looked in that one, could he do that to another opponent of higher caliber? Well, didn't do that to Whittaker in this fight. Again, it was close, but I thought RDR put on a very good performance and sort of put himself into that upper echelon of the middleweight division here. So really like what I saw from de Ritter. I'll have to go look at the stats. I don't know if they have them up yet. We'll have a quick look at that there. But I thought, when we're looking back on this card, we're going to talk about this fight. The main event certainly delivered, and it looks like we do have the stats now. So it's actually Reiner to Ritter just slightly outlanding Robert Whittaker 67-66. And you look at the rounds here, Robert Whittaker, a lot of head kicks, 93% total, 61 for de Ritter. But this was a great fight and a good fight from the middleweight division. And look, Rob Whittaker, I posted the stat out there earlier. He's now lost back-to-back fights for the first time since moving up to middleweight at 2014. I don't think Rob looked out of his place. I don't think Rob looked washed or anything like that. You might look at the box score and think that Robert Whittaker, has now lost back-to-back fights. But I think Rob's still right up there. This is a good win, good performance from both guys. Reiner to Ritter, though, biggest stock riser on this card, in my opinion. Okay, second biggest stock riser on this card. We're going to go to the light heavyweight fight. Bogdan Guskov taking out Nikita Krylov in the first round. Simply for the fact that Bogdan now on quite the win streak at light heavyweight. And you look at that division right now, obviously at the very top, we've got the champ Magomed Ankalaev, but you look at sort of that upper echelon there, some really good fighters up there. But Bogdan with this win has certainly placed himself very well. Going into this, I'd have to look at the rankings and where he is right now. But him finishing Krylov like this is going to definitely wake some people up and make some noise here. I think the rankings website might be down, but take my word for it. Bogdan Guskov, one of the big stock risers on this card, simply for the fact underdog comes through, gets the first round finish. He is now on quite the roll. If you look at his career here, has not lost since I think that debut against Volkan Ozdemir. So that's 4 straight wins, easily the biggest win of his UFC career, taking out Nikita Krylov. Second biggest stock riser on this card has got to be Bogdan Guskov. Now, this next stock riser, people may disagree or agree with me here, but how about Bryce Mitchell? Now, look, Bryce was favored in this fight against Said Nurmagomedov, but new weight class, I thought performed very well, really good takedowns, good ground game in this one. It's just for the simple fact that if Bryce had lost this fight, he's in a really tough spot, right? A number of key losses at featherweight, coming down to a new division against a guy that, really hasn't made a ton of noise at bantamweight. I thought this was a solid performance from Bryce Mitchell, and we just have to look at the context of this for the simple fact that Bryce Mitchell, pretty big name overall in MMA. And, whether that's good or bad, but for him to get a win like this in Abu Dhabi, I think speaks volumes to where he's at this point in his career. So I think Bryce Mitchell's stock goes up simply for the fact that he's got a new division now. And I think all those losses at featherweight, they don't really matter that much because he's now fighting at 135. So I think for Bryce Mitchell, big win there. He's a stock riser in my opinion. Okay, a couple honorable mentions on this card for my stock risers. Going to go with Petr Yan. I think Yan was kind of in a lose-lose situation. A lot of people felt like Marcus McGee did not deserve this opportunity. But listen, other than a slow start, which is sort of typical Petr Yan, I thought he looked great in this fight. Vintage Yan in this one, a lot of good striking, a lot of good power in this fight. Minus 360 favorite. Yeah, there's a lot of expectations there, but the fact of the matter is Yan is basically the reason I put him as an honorable mention and not like a flat out stock riser is just because I don't think his stock changes that much. I think he's still a contender in this weight class. I think he still has a strong case for getting one of those big fights next. So for Petr Yan, did what he had to do, took care of business against Marcus McGee. Would have been nice to see him get a finish, but McGee, to his credit, very durable, looked good in this fight. I think Petr Yan certainly has to get an honorable mention. And then got to give an honorable mention here to Davy Grant. Here's a guy at 39 years old, still getting it done. This was a little bit of short notice on this fight, but for him to get the decision over Damon Blackshear as a very big underdog here at plus 285, got to get some credit there to Davy Grant, taking out the -350 favorite Damon Blackshear. And then another quick honorable mention, Muslim Salikov, huge underdog here, getting the big upset against Carlos Leal. +375 gets the finish in this one. Muslim Salikov gets it. The only reason I didn't, again, put Salikov as like one of the big stock risers for the simple fact that like he's 41. Like even though he got this win, where does he go from here? Really not a whole lot. I don't think his career, there's going to be much going on for his career after that. Okay, let's get to our stock droppers here real quick. Biggest stock dropper on this card. The thumbnail gave it away. It's got to be Nikita Krylov, I should say. Now that's back-to-back losses. This was a guy that, has been in the UFC a couple times. He's still only 33. He's not that old, guys. And was favored in this fight. And now he gets finished. That's back-to-back stoppage losses. Like his stock is in the tank now. His last one was Ryan Spann, who's not even in the division. Ozdemir's not looking so good. Gustafson's retired. This is a guy who actually had a decent fight against Magomed Ankalaev a couple years back, but now back-to-back losses in a division that is moving very quickly. Krylov's in a tough spot here. So it's not the fact that he's losing and that he's losing in the first round to these guys here. So Krylov, biggest stock dropper, especially when you look at the landscape of the light heavyweight division. Okay, second biggest stock dropper. Could have put him as the first one as well. Aslan, what an awful, this fight was not good. Ibo Aslan and his opponent and now 14-2. He's a -305 favorite and he loses here. I don't know what happened. It's like Elon Kutalaba kind of just, I don't know, took a lot out of him here, but this fight was not good. He loses as a -305 favorite, and he's 29, a guy that you'd think has some promise in the weight class here, but I thought this was not a good performance from Aslan. Whatever stock he had, that's all out the window after these last two fights. He now is, lost to back-to-back fights after this one. The other one we mentioned, biggest betting favorite on this card, I believe he was the biggest betting favorite, Carlos Leal, losing to Muslim Salikov. And again, younger guy, little bit of momentum. Coming into this one, he's -480 favorite, and he gets finished in the first round in 42 seconds. Terrible look here. His stock goes down. Again, I don't know how much stock he really had going in other than he was a big betting favorite, right? He had the fight with Renat a couple fights back, which people felt like he won. Had a nice follow-up to that with Alex Morono. He thought, okay, maybe he gets another win here. We could be talking about the rankings here. But now he gets finished in this fight. It totally changes where he was headed in the division right now. And at 31, it's going to be tough for him to kind of bounce back from that. So Carlos Leal, another stock dropper on the spot. A couple other honorable mentions. We do have to put Whitaker in the stock dropper conversation as far as an honorable mention, just for the simple fact he's got back-to-back losses. Again, I don't think Whitaker fought bad, but the optics of it are that he now has 2 straight losses in the division. So we'll see what's next for him. There's still a lot of big fights in the weight class. Would love to still see that fight with Sean Strickland at some point. Damon Blackshear, I mentioned it there, -350 favorite, ends up losing here. And Blackshear, it hasn't been totally perfect for him in the UFC. He's had a couple losses like the Batista and Montel Jackson fight, but 3-fight win streak, that's all out the window now, losing to Davy Grant. And then Carlos Leal, we have to mention him, -4, or sorry, I already mentioned Carlos Leal. Cheryl Bullitt. Now, Cheryl Bullitt won this fight, but, let's be realistic here. He was he was the biggest favorite on this card. So he was -625 going into this card. So Carlos Leal was not the biggest favorite. He was the second biggest favorite. Cheryl Bullitt was -625. Did he look like that in this fight? No, he almost lost. Marc-Andre Barrio looked like he broke his nose in that, I think, in the second round here. This fight was way closer than it needed to be. Again, Cheryl Bullitt in Abu Dhabi. He's got the crowd on his side, so to speak. He's coming off the loss to MVP. He's, it's good that he got the win, but I do think his stock goes down because there was a lot of talk prior to him fighting MVP about this guy being a threat in the weight class. And, to me, if Cheryl Bullitt was as good as people said he was, you finish a Marc-Andre Barrio in the first round. We've seen Marc-Andre Barrio get finished a number of times in his career. He's +485. He's 35 years old. He's a lot older than him as well. And you can't put him away and you win a close decision here. I don't know. That's tough to do. I mean, Dustin Stolfus finished him in the first round. Joe Pfeiffer, I can understand that. Again, I know he got the win here, Cheryl Bullitt, but you have to ask yourself this question. Did Cheryl Bullitt look like a -625 favorite? I don't think he did. So Cheryl Bullitt's going to get an honorable mention as a slight stock drop in this spot here. So yeah, those are my stock risers, stock droppers. Let's hear your opinion. I'll also talk a little bit about this card as well. We'll stick on here for, I don't know how long. We'll see what's going on here. So we got AFPV saying RDR future champ. RDR is proof that there's talent outside the UFC. I would agree. Is Krylov done? I don't think he's done, but I think his days of being any sort of contender in the weight class are certainly questioned at this point. I mean, he might be. I mean, for the simple fact that when you get finished in the first round twice in a row like this, you are starting to have those conversations. But here's the weird thing. He's only 33. So what happened? Was it the layoff? I don't know. Is Whitaker done now? Absolutely not. No. Listen, Whitaker narrowly lost this fight, guys. If RDR would have gone in here and finished him in the first round and it looked like the fight he had previously against Hamzat Chimaev, then yeah, we can maybe have that conversation. But back-to-back fights, back-to-back losses. RDR certainly has proved tonight that he's a contender in the weight class. Whitaker's not even close to being done. Yeah, he took some damage here tonight. I think if Whitaker landed that same shot on like half the middleweights that are ranked right there, he's probably coming away with a knockout win. DeRitter's just tough as hell. So again, if you watch the fight closely, I don't think Whitaker fought bad in the spot. Krylov coming back so soon may have ruined his career, especially against a dangerous puncher in Guskov. Great point there. I like MMA. Really thought Whitaker won. I don't listen. Again, the fight's narrow, very narrow as far as the scorecards here. Let me actually look. Do we have the decision on MMA decisions? That might be worth having a look as well, guys. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in live to this one. Just thought I'd hop on here. I did get to watch the whole card live today, which is great. So yeah, look at this. Split down the middle, guys. And I kind of figured it would be this way, right? If you look at the scorecard. So I believe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for DeRitter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just slightly going towards DeRitter. But this is what I mean. Like anyone saying Rob Whitaker's done, I disagree. Again, narrowly won this fight, narrowly lost this fight, I should say. This is a great fight, though, overall. Bummed to see Whitaker lose again. Will be out of the top 5 for the first time since 2017. Just shows you how good he is. Why isn't Riki a stock riser? She was an underdog and got a fight with serious damage. We could add her as well. There's just a lot of different names here. I guess with Ricci, there's been a couple key losses for her. So I don't, even though this win was huge, I would certainly agree with that. She did lose to Yan Shonan in her last fight. So it's like, where does she belong here? Rebus was a good win. You're right. I'll give her that. Probably should have got an honorable mention. I'll push back on that. But we obviously got a big Tabitha Ricci fan here. You're right. I mean, again, that was a good win for her to finish Rebus. But I just think that, like, if you look at where the division is right now, I don't know how much the win sort of helps her in the weight class, but we'll see. Whitaker is not in the best spot, but I do think he proved people wrong. Many had RDR finish, even though Rob was the favorite. Correct. Insanity, RDR is a middleweight. He looked enormous. I agree. He looked very good out there. Tried to be technical. Brief fights to make. Gustaf versus Blachowicz. Whitaker versus Allen. DeRitter versus Adesanya. What do you think? Yeah, those could work. I could see Blachowicz getting someone like Gustaf, because again, it's going to be process of elimination of who he fights next. Whitaker, Allen. Yeah, you could do that. There's a couple other key fights coming up. We got that, like the Lidze and Hernandez fight that can make sense. I had Rob winning, but picked RDR. That's fair. As someone who trains BJJ, I'm so disappointed in Buchecha losing like that. Yeah, I didn't even mention him. He would have been a stock dropper just because, again, there was a lot of hype with him coming to the UFC. This card was so notable. How many underdogs won? I think it was 7 underdogs or something won on this card. Technically, DeRitter was an underdog too, so I think that would have been 8. So yeah, it's tough to say, but that was a tough one there for sure. Dogs were barking for sure. How did Mike Bell have round 4 for Whitaker? Yeah, I don't know that. That's crazy. What's up, Sebastian? Who wins between RDR and DDP? I mean, DDP beats RDR. I don't think there's a question about that. Height and reach wise, I think DeRitter would be a bit bigger here, right? If we're looking at the tail of the tape, we got he is 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. What is Dricus? Dricus is not as tall. I know that for sure. He is 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. So 2-inch reach advantage, not by much. Duplessis will be fairly well sized against him. Herzog is a stock. Yes, he was. Some bad reffing tonight. He almost got that guy killed. Could you do Whitaker Vittori too? No, I don't think. No. Vittori is way further down the ladder than Robert Whitaker is at this point. Vittori is like I was even saying tonight, Shara Bullet should fight Vittori. That's the fight to make, right? Like, again, Shara Bullet is this guy that I don't think is as big of a deal as some people are making out to be. And Vittori is like falling off a cliff, but I think Vittori clearly needs to step down in competition, even outside a guy like Brendan Allen, for sure. Imagine someone like Jalton Laduda Buchetta. That's true. Apart from the stock dropper, who do you think gets cut? I think you see Rebus being the one getting the axe. Yeah, it didn't look good. I think they'll keep Rebus. I kind of get this feeling that they like Rebus for some reason. And she's still 31, so I don't think they're complete. Well, you never know. 3 losses in a row. They'll probably give her one more. I don't know why. I just have a feeling the UFC likes her. They seem to give her big fights. I think she'll get one more. The women, a lot of women fighters, for some reason, get more of a leash with the UFC than, like, Andrea Lee, I think, had like 6 losses in a row before she got cut or something like that, right? So, right? Didn't she have 6 losses? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 6 losses. So I don't know. For some reason, they do give a longer leash to certain fighters. 100%. That was terrible from Herzog. I agree. Isn't Robert the biggest stock dropper? I haven't seen the list. He's not the biggest stock dropper, Jay. Did you watch the fight, Jay? Let me ask you that question. I'm guessing you didn't. If you watched that fight and thought Rob Whitaker was the biggest stock dropper, I don't think we watched the same fight. Rob fought well. Again, he fought well. Yes, the optics of him losing 2 in a row is not good. But I don't think, again, you come away from that fight going that Robert Whittaker is still not a high-level fighter. That's my opinion. Leo getting chin makes Renat look worse. I would agree. Rebus has a bubbly attitude people love. I mean, she's good looking too. I mean, let's be honest here. They do kind of factor that in, I think, to a certain degree. They do. I don't know why. They certainly factor it in, though. Whittaker Cannonier if Jared beats MVP. Sure, you could do that. Who's the biggest stock dropper? Already talked about it. It's Nikita Krylov, Jay. Already mentioned that. But again, I know you joined here a little bit late. We'll go a little bit longer here. I don't know if we'll do the full hour here, guys, but figure we try something different. I was like, you know what? I was going to record my stock dropper, but I bet a lot of you guys are around because it's during the daytime. So thought we'd do the stock report live today. So again, if you guys missed it, I will read it one more time so you guys can get an idea here. Biggest stock risers: Reiner de Ritter, Bogdan Guskov, Bryce Mitchell. Honorable mentions go to Piotr Jan and Davy Grant. We'll also throw in Tabitha Ricci because that guy did make a good point. We'll put Tabitha Ricci in there as well. Biggest stock droppers were Nikita Krylov, Ibo Aslan, Carlos Leal. Honorable mentions go to Robert Whittaker, Damon Blackshear, and Shara Bullitt. Even though Shara Bullitt won, I don't think he looked good tonight, personally. Mitchell versus Phillips. That could work. Yeah, that could make sense. I do think Mitchell will get, because he's somewhat of a name in the division, I do see him getting a ranked opponent next. I could see that happening. For Mitchell, maybe give him Patchy Mix or something. I think he needs one more outside the rankings. Did Mix not get ranked? I don't know. Is the rankings working for you guys? I can't get the page to come up. I guess Mix isn't ranked. Would you agree you can argue 49-46 RDR? Possibly. What round, though, would you give? What would be the 2 rounds that you would give the RDR, though, in that case? Like the Murphy-Pico matchup, just not the biggest fan of that being the co-main, just my opinion. Get used to it. The UFC doesn't care. Again, like I think that's also somewhat of a debatable. I guess with the co-main event, they're kind of relying on the fact that you've got this guy coming over from Bellator. Like I think it was just a random, like if Lerone Murphy had fought Arnold Allen as the co-main event as an example, I think fans would have more of a right to be upset by that because that's a decent matchup at featherweight, but I don't think that's like a co-main event. With Pico, they will have that added advantage of he's coming over from Bellator. Like how's he going to look and all that. And I also think, and I said this in the video I posted on this channel, which if you guys haven't seen it yet, did a quick reaction video to the Aaron Pico and Lerone Murphy fight that was announced. You can watch it right here on the channel. I mentioned that I think the UFC would love it if Aaron Pico knocked out Lerone Murphy because I don't think they were too happy about his performance against Josh Emmett. Next 2 weeks look rough. Not a fan of the Apex. I would agree. Next week's card, I was having and we got a new main event next week, right? I think that's the rumor, is that Waldo apparently is going to headline the card. We're just waiting to see who he's going to fight. Because Waldo tweeted something. If you guys missed it, I'm not just saying this for nothing. Let me find the tweet here. Yeah. Waldo, shout out to our guy Octagon Update for reporting this as well. Waldo saying that anytime, anywhere, anybody, see you next week main event. So it sounds like the main event between Tyra and Albazi is not happening, potentially. So we'll see. What else we got, guys? Team of prelims, Ageless Wonders. Nice to see Grant and Salikov get wins. July was a good month for the UFC. Don't you agree? Jay, you ask questions like this as if I'm supposed to give some like surprising answer. Of course it was a good month. Well, I mean, what other answer would there? See you on Monday as well. Cannonier's done enough to get the Whittaker rematch, broken forearm. Well, he's got to be an MVP, though. 2-5, all RDR. That's fair. What was your decision on the main event? I did think RDR slightly edged it out. But again, it was not a robbery. It was not a, I think it was just a close fight. And I think if Whittaker had won, I would probably be saying the same thing. 1, 3, 4, and 5. He definitely lost round 2. Yeah, the round 3 was interesting because of the fact that Whittaker... So hold on. You gave him round 3 because round 3 was the one where Whittaker landed the overhand right and almost finished him, right? So that's where it's tough. Like all RDR did was sit on top of him the rest of the round. But again, he had more control time, but Whittaker had the most damage, and they do scored off damage. So technically, Whittaker should have won round 3. But this is where the rules get a little bit murky. Vinicius Oliveira should fight Bryce. You could do that fight too. I thought round 1 and 3 were Whittaker, though. Yeah, round 3 should have been Whittaker's, Darren. I agree. 3 was close. I know that's the question. If you're basing it off damage, Whittaker should win. He landed the most damage in that round. However, who had the most control time? It was RDR. That's where things get interesting. Early pick for me, Murphy picking Pico apart. Same with Iboya. Pico just doesn't have that big fight experience. I mean, Pico could knock him out. I feel like Murphy did get rocked in a fight. I can't remember which one it was. He did get rocked in one of the fights. But I don't know. Like that's pretty much what you're banking on. I think Murphy could do enough to just win a decision here, but we'll see. Thought Mark was going to stop the fight after that knockdown. It was possible. I wasn't impressed with Murphy's performance against Emmett. I think Pico was live for sure. Possibly. The big issue with Pico, though, is the lack of opposition he's fought. And I've talked about this before. RDR got dropped hard in round 3. There's no way any way scores that to RDR. That was kind of my thoughts of Vaughn as well. He landed on Whitaker. Didn't Murphy get rocked against Barbosa? Yeah, that was the fight I was thinking of. He did get rocked. So again, Pico's got the one punch knockout power if he wants to do it. But again, it's going to be tough to do. It's going to be tough to do. Again, Henry Corrales is nowhere near the level of Lerone Murphy. While Whitaker is still a top 10 fighter, do you think his title aspirations has officially ended? Yeah, I do. I do, unfortunately. How old's Whitaker now? He's like 34, right? Yeah, he'll be 35 in December. Yeah, I think it's safe to say. And you know what? Let's say he won this fight. I don't even know there's a guarantee that Whitaker's fighting for the title anyways, right? I mean, we're seeing a lot of up-and-comers, rise of the ranks here. We've got, Imavov. We've got Kaya. We've got, Anthony Hernandez, I still think is a dark horse in the weight class. There's just so many good fighters on the come up right now that I think we are seeing a changing of the guard at 185. And, even like, let's say if Chimaev beats DDP, DDP would still be in the way there. And I don't know if Rob beats DDP. There's so many things that could happen there. Got dropped versus Danny Ige, got dropped too. That's right. Yeah. So again, that's where things get interesting here, where it could be Pico knocking him out. But I said this in the video, I'm still picking Murphy in this spot. Waldo on a Spanish language commentator say apparently he tagged ESPN Espanol on the post as well. So I'm hearing behind the scenes that they have an opponent for, I don't want to mention who it is. I believe they have an opponent for Waldo for next week, but there's some issue with the opponent, may or may not happen. So we'll see. Keep tabs on it. But next week's main event is in jeopardy. See you in the Discord for sure. Aaron Pico's fighting Murphy. Yes, they announced it on the broadcast today. That's a co-main event for Chicago. What's up, James? What did you rate the card at 34? How much longer does Reiner have left in his prime? Reiner looked good tonight. And if the fact that he took that punch, I don't know if he can continue to do that, take those type of punches here. So as far as the card goes, with the amount of upsets we got, I give this probably like an 8 out of 10. I don't know what you guys think. Like, this was a strong card going in. It certainly delivered in a lot of different ways, especially with the underdogs winning. I certainly think that, it was one of the better cards, fight night cards we've had this year. And then as far as, Reiner to Ritter, we'll see. I mean, again, I think, you look at a guy like Alex Pereira, he's older and still competing quite well. We'll see how he does in the rematch against Ankalaev, but I don't see any reason why, De Ritter can't have success for years to come. He looks pretty good. Whitaker was shot or 2 away from ending the fight in round 3. That outweighs a few minutes of control time. In my opinion, didn't do damage. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think we're all in agreement here that Whitaker won round 3, except for Darren, which is fine. Everyone's different in terms of scoring. How do you think Whitaker Strickland goes? That's the big question. Strickland's very good defensively. I've been told from people, and I mentioned this many times on the stream, that Strickland was very, very, very much injured going into that DDP fight and kind of had to take it just because, again, if you're offered a title shot, you got to kind of take advantage of that. So I think that a healthy Strickland could potentially beat Whitaker. I do, because I don't think Whitaker's going to finish Strickland. No, the only guy to finish Strickland at 185 has been Pereira, and Whitaker just doesn't pose that same threat, in my opinion. Actually, take that back on the Cannoneer call. Whitaker Fluffy would bang so hard. Yeah, hopefully we'll see that. That would be great. Whitaker's titles aspirations ended after the Hamzat loss. I would agree with that, actually. Yeah, just because it's pretty tough to get up there at his age and everything else. Let's do another 8 minutes on here, guys. We'll do maybe 30 minutes today. I don't want to do a full recap show. This is still the stock report. So it would be great. Usually when I do this video, people criticize my picks. I would just like to hear your biggest stock rise or stock droppers on this card. Give me some people that really impressed you that you think their stock goes up, and then tell me some people whose stock went down. We didn't even talk about this Asu and Ocha fight, which I thought Ocha performed quite well even in the loss. He's a guy that I think you could even argue stock went up tonight despite losing. Asu looked good though too. A lot of people writing off Asu in that last fight with Manel Kopp. He looked great tonight. That was another good fight that we had on the card. Steven to win, that was good performance. I don't know what type of damage he's going to do in his weight class, but still that was impressive. So a lot of good fights on this card. Lots of crazy upsets here on the card. Which one surprised you for most? For me, it was Salikov. Yeah, it was Salikov for me too. At 41, and a guy that had been finished, 2 fights ago against Randy Brown. I thought if anyone was getting the finish, it was going to be Carlos Leal, not Muslim Salikov. So yeah, very impressive. Sorry, there was a couple fights ago he lost to Randy Brown. But yeah, very, very impressive. That and I think another one that kind of surprised me was Ricci beating Rebus. I thought Rebus would do enough to win, but we'll see. If you had to guess, how long does NAC suspend Sean for? I couldn't tell you. I honestly don't know. I did 48-47 RDR. I understand the argument for RDR winning round 3, though. It's a tough one, though. What's up, Billy? Do you like that Imavov and Kaya were fighting or is killing a contender? No, I love that. I mean, who else would they fight in the meantime? you got to kind of keep fighters busy. I don't like this inactivity that happens every now and then in certain divisions. So I think it's totally fine. Do you think Jan has made enough improvements that he could come in with a better game plan to beat Merab now? I think he can come in with a better game plan to against Merab. I still don't think he beats Merab though. I don't think tonight was enough for me to be like, okay, he's done enough to like change my mind, but it won't happen. Share a stock. You think his stock went up, took damage and won decisively? I completely disagree here. I think that Share a Bullet stock went down tonight because of the fact that he was minus 625 and he fought a guy who's been knocked out a ton of times in the first round, who's 35 years old, and he couldn't do it. And he almost lost. I don't know how you can say Shara's stock went up at a minus 625 favorite. If you're a minus 625 favorite, that means you're supposed to finish your opponent early in the fight. And that's not what happened at a much closer fight. Then Krylov needs to retire too chinny now. That I'm here for that argument. I am definitely here for this argument. If you want to say that he's a little bit chinny, it certainly looks like that when you're losing back-to-back fights in the first round. Now, I will say, right, we've seen Dominic Reyes. People said that about him, right? He should retire too, and he's sort of gone on a run. So you never know. Fighting's weird that way. Remember Andrei Arlovsky? There was a point like earlier in his career where like he was getting knocked out all the time. And this was back when he was in like Strikeforce. And it's like, okay, he's done. And then he had a full like second run in the UFC after that. So you never know. All right, guys, let's take a couple more questions here. Again, we'll do maybe another 5 minutes here. I didn't want to make this too long. I didn't want to make this like a full-on recap show. But let me know, guys, what your biggest stock risers and stock droppers are on the card. Give me your top three, bottom three. Would love to hear from you guys. Always like getting your thoughts on these types of things. That would be great. You guys could let me know. What else do you got, guys? Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Really appreciate you guys tuning in here. What else do we have? Who should Bryce next fight at bantamweight? He's still young at 30. I wouldn't say 30's young. I mean, he's not old. Someone mentioned Kyler Phillips. I think that could make some sense. Someone also mentioned Patchy Mix. Don't mind that either. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different. I think Bryce will get like a name for his next fight, whether it's a ranked opponent or someone notable. I just think with the way the UFC sort of feels about Bryce and they put him on this card, I think that could certainly make sense. What do you think with what happens to Jan Blachowicz at all the movement at light heavyweight? Someone suggested Bogdan is fighting him next. I'm fine with that fight. I mean, who's available right now? You've got Carl. Obviously, Olberg's waiting for an opponent. I assume he's going to fight in the main event of the Perth card. You got Dominic Reyes out there. Maybe that's who Olberg's fighting. So you've got Jan, and then who else is out there? Jamal Hill's out there. I think Jamal, personally, I think he needs some more time off to kind of readjust and figure some things out. Bogdan just won. You could do Bogdan and him. There's, I'm missing anyone. I'm trying to think like who right now could be a viable opponent for Jan Blachowicz. Rip Hogan, he said it hard. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of stuff that people got to say. I got Hulk Hogan on my shirt here today, WrestleMania. Look at that, Hogan right there. So yeah. Hulk Hogan, the wrestler. If you want to talk about Terry Bologna or whatever his last name is, I forget how you pronounce it. If you want to talk about that's different. But Hulk Hogan, the wrestler, I mean, he's a legend. I can't say Shara's stock went down, but I've always thought he was pretty mid. Lots of can crushing. Again, though, minus 625 favorite, and you have a close decision with the guy that's been knocked out a handful of times in the first round. I'm sorry, your stock goes down. It just does. There's no other way to put it. And it's got nothing to do with where he's from or any of that. You know, his name could be, you know, Trevor Simpson or something, and he's from, you know, Wisconsin. I'd say the same thing. There's this idea when he came into the UFC that he's going to be some, you know, threat, and I just haven't seen it yet. And he loses to MVP, and then, in my opinion, was given a bit of a layup tonight against Michael Venom Page. Let's go, or against Marc-Andre Barriault. Let's actually look at the striking stats here tonight. I mean, again, Marc-Andre Barriault is a guy that has struggled to even get in the rankings, has never been ranked. And you're going to a close decision there. Now, Share a Bullet clearly outlanded him 93-39, 103-60 as far as total strikes go. But there were some points in this fight where Marc-Andre Barriault had Share a Bullet hurt, like when he broke his nose and all that. So I don't know, maybe I'm being a little bit too hard on him, but I don't think, like, I think if you're this like supposed like threat at middleweight that's like this up and comer, you got to be finishing guys like Marc-Andre Barriault, and that's just not what happened tonight. Do they let MVP chase a title if he beats Jared? They could. I don't know. Not get the title shot, but give him another big fight. Of course. Yeah, that will absolutely happen if he beats Jared. That's why he's getting the Jared fight. That's why MVP's getting the Jared fight, because the UFC obviously values him quite well. It's no different than him fighting Ian Gary after beating Kevin Holland. They do like him a lot, in my opinion. So that's what it sort of boils down to. Okay, guys, one more time, I'll ask you guys that. Give me your Top 3 stock risers, top 3 stock droppers on this card. Let me know. Again, there's a lot of different ways you can define stock. For me, it's about the performance. It's about the betting odds. It's about where you fit in the division. It's about where were you before and after the fight. These are all things I factor in. So again, I'll read it one more time. My stock risers on this card are Reiner de Ritter, Bogdan Guskov, and Bryce Mitchell. Honorable mentions go to Piotr Jan and Davey Grant. My biggest stock droppers are Nikita Krylov, Ibo Aslan, and Carlos Leal. My honorable mentions for stock droppers go to Robert Whitaker, Damon Blackshear, and Cheryl Bullitt. Those are some ones as well. Who do you think Ian should fight next? Gary, it should be Sean Brady. I think makes sense. We're still waiting to see what's going on with Shavkat Rakhmonov as far as when he's healthy and ready to go. Doesn't look like he's too keen on that, but keen on coming back anytime soon. Haven't heard any updates on him fighting. So where we're at right now, I think Brady and Gary seem to both be available. That seems like a fight that certainly makes some sense there. Who's going to get the last question, guys? We got a couple seconds left here on the stream. Again, I will be going live on Monday doing the preview show, which again, right now is up in the air. It sounds like next week's main event between Amir Albazi and Tetsuro Taira is off. So we're waiting on a new main event. The rumor right now is Waldo Cortez Acosta will be headlining next week's card. So I'll wait to put the show up until I know what that is. Blackshear stock drop. Yes, 100%. Who'd you pick in Whitaker and Strickland now, James? Just said it maybe 5 minutes ago. I guess you missed it. I would pick probably Sean Strickland in that fight, only for the simple fact that I don't think Whitaker could do enough damage to win that. I think Strickland's defensive striking and Strickland being on his game, I think would be enough to beat Whitaker. Not to mention Strickland's a little bit young. Are they the same age? Actually, I don't even know. Let me just check here. Feels like Strickland's younger, even though I think they're about the same age. Let me see here. Strickland is, yeah, they're both 34. So, yeah. Not that great stream. There we go. I'm actually heading out of here, limit break, but glad you popped by anyways. Guys, I'll say it one more time. Give me your 3 biggest stock risers, stock droppers in the comments here. I will be back on Monday doing my full preview show of the UFC Vegas 108 card, which, like I just mentioned there, the main event kind of up in the air right now. So we'll see what happens. If I missed your question here, just post it in the comments. I'll get to it over the next little bit here. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. How great is this, guys? Depending on where you live, you got the rest of the evening to enjoy yourself, do other things. Where I live here in Vancouver, it's beautiful out. I'm going to be definitely taking advantage of the outdoors this evening. Go barbecue or something fun like that. But happy we got to do a rare live edition of the Stock Report here on the Lynch on Sports YouTube channel. My name is James Lynch. One more time, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. I will talk to you guys on Monday, and have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Take care.